Hey horror fans, welcome back to Terror Talk, where I discuss creepy clips online. All the horror music you hear is composed by me. If you want my top 5 horror movie recommendations and exclusive reviews, check the pinned comment after watching. Plus, I've got a free gift to inspire your creepy imagination. Now, let's have some fun.
So trust me, you're gonna want to watch this video. I'm not even sure how to put this, but there's this thing going on right now on social media, and a lot of people are talking about how the elites, how celebrities supposedly have been having these secret parties, rituals involving mermaids.
What I'm about to say might be the weirdest sentence that you ever hear in your entire life.
Yeah, so right away, this is just some pretty crazy stuff in this video. And the fact that there are these rituals or parties or whatever you want to call them around these creatures is just mind-blowing to me. It's literally mind-blowing. And I know that this type of video is a bit different than from what you're used to. And if you're new to the channel, I usually do scary story type videos, but I also love creepy conspiracy stuff like this. So that's what I'm getting into in this video. And I will be doing these types of videos here and there, but James is an excellent channel. Go check him out if you want to. Excellent content. And I really like his style of presenting too. And there is another channel that I will be doing here and there as well, but I love James, the Jaymez. I love his content. So let's get into it, because let me know in the comments below if you believe in mermaids, because I definitely do. I definitely think they could be real. And if these people are actually having these parties and doing what they're doing to them, and you'll soon find out what that is, holy shit, that is just absolutely crazy. Mind-blowing.
I am pretty skeptical about it, but this is exactly why I decided to make a video, because it's trending right now all over social media. Everyone's talking about it. It's on TikTok, it's on Reddit, on YouTube. You'll hear about this very soon if you haven't. But the thing is, as I dig deeper into this, I actually found a couple of things that make this all very weird.
But apparently there's a secret government organization out in the middle of the ocean, B613. Another one over here? What are those?
So there's a bunch of crazy stuff that actually makes this all very weird. One of them is, there are indeed celebrities who built homes at the beach specifically for these kind of parties. And we'll be taking a closer look into this.
So, do you believe that? Do you believe that these celebrities are building homes specifically for this purpose, which is mermaids? And I don't know, that's just kind of crazy to me, isn't it?
Desde su estatua. Y desde entonces se celebraban fiestas secretas ahí, con las sirenas.
There's also the fact that there's a bunch of videos that may actually prove that mermaids are not just some legend. And also the fact that Sauce 90, a guy who was recording mermaids back in 2022, may actually be a crew member of one of these teams that hunts for mermaids. And after being visited by several entities, he went missing. This is a theory that someone came up with, and I decided to investigate further.
Sauce 90, the guy is legit here. Deep game, let's be sneaky.
So this video in particular, I remember seeing it a while back. So this isn't like a completely new video. This guy is basically claiming to have had a close encounter with mermaids that were following his boat, and he heard this sounds and everything, the songs that they make, and it's really freaking cool.
You're gonna be out here doing testing. Testing what? What the f are you guys testing? That's what I want to know.
Now, the plot twist would be that Sauce 90 wasn't actually being chased by mermaids. He was possibly one of the crew members of a team who hunts mermaids for these supposed elite parties. This is, of course, just a theory, but it would actually make much more sense on why he got approached by certain entities, his account was banned, and that he went missing for a while.
So I think we all got a bit of a shock when we logged on to see that Source 90's account had been taken down for violating community guidelines.
There's also dozens of videos popping up right now all over social media of people talking about similar stories and how they have seen or heard something about this before. So this is either a really big distraction, which could be the case, or this could be something else. But because we know even less about the ocean than we know about space, there's a bunch of
So let's just read this right here. Humans have only explored about 5% of the ocean, which is the largest living space on Earth. This means that 95% of the ocean is still uncharted and unexplored. And why is so little of the ocean explored? The ocean is immense, and it's that blah, blah, blah. So I think a lot of us already know that, but that is insane that so much of the ocean has been unexplored. And so I think that alone is a lot of evidence in itself that there is so much that we don't know about what's in the ocean. And I do believe that aliens are also living in the ocean and even underground. And because there are so many ships that just come out of the water, it's crazy. But this is why a large part of me believes in mermaids, and who else knows what's down there too. Like, I'm sure there is some pretty scary stuff down in the ocean that we couldn't fathom. But that's just my opinion.
legends, myths, ancient maps, depictions, and natives and tribes and cultures have talked about them for centuries. There's even this legend, Japanese legend, that if you eat a mermaid, you will live forever. I decided to take a closer look into this to see if there's any truth to it. So let's start with the
I have also never heard of eating a mermaid and living forever. That is crazy. And isn't that the same thing with like a unicorn too? Like if you drink a unicorn's blood or eat a unicorn or something like that, you live forever too. That's just kind of crazy to me about the mermaid immortality thing.
basic. That would be the video of this woman that started all of this trend a week ago, posted by JLee207, and this is the first video of its kind that was uploaded about this topic. Let's take a look at this.
Somebody told me the coolest story about a company that catches big fish, if you can call them that. So this guy named Landon, he's like 28 years old. He's living with his parents. He's fresh out of prison. He bounces back and forth from job to job. And finally, his parents put him out on his ass. They're like, look, you need to go call your cousin. He has a fishing charter. You know, get in touch with him and see if you can't go to work for your cousin, Travis. Landon leaves the Midwest and goes to the East Coast to this little fishing community.
So she basically explains how this man got a job with his cousin in his fishing charter. He later finds out that another crew took over his fishing charter and how it's not his anymore. And this is when things get fishy and very interesting.
You didn't tell me up until now that this was not your crew. So Landon's like, okay, let's just go ahead and do it. And Travis is showing Landon all around the boat, and they walk into this room. They had left the kitchen area, and he showed him where the bunks were and everything else. Well, they walked through to get to the bunks through a room that had some tanks in it, okay? But these weren't normal at all. It was kind of like this, but it had a bluish fluid in it, okay? And he said that it had wheels on it, and there were these little things that snapped down to the ground to hold it in place, but you could also unsnap them and you could wheel it around, kind of like this color. So out of curiosity, he's like, Travis, what are those for? And he was like, oh, those are for the big payday, okay? Those are for when we get big bonus. That's big bonus time. And he explains to him that Captain Burgess has a very specific clientele over certain types of fish that they will get a mega, mega bonus, okay?
So from this point on, the captain of the crew comes over to this guy and makes him sign an NDA so that he can continue working there. This is what happens.
Said the first 2 days they were out there, it was just regular fish.
So what do you think of this so far? And my thoughts are just like, wow. And the thing with any of these things is that they are hard to believe. Like, to me, this woman sounds like she's telling the truth. She sounds very adamant about what she's saying, about how this cousin got into this line of business and everything like that. And I don't know, are people really actually hunting and capturing mermaids and selling them to the elite and rich people. Like, wow. I just don't, like, you think you've heard everything, but this world is really crazy, so you never really know what's gonna come next.
Regular fish, well, it was a stormy night and they were going to head back in because it was going to be really, really bad. And Captain Burgess had all this equipment in his office and everything else, And he was like, "No, we're not going back in. We got something big up." And he said what he saw inside was like nothing he had ever seen before, probably ever will again if he ever lives to tell the story again. He said that it was like a pasty, whitish green skin, okay? And the fin, okay, from like the hip bone down, like the hip bones were huge. But from there down, it was just like the body of a fish. And he said that it was like bright, greenish white, silvery scales. And very, very slimy. And like greenish black hair. And wasn't pretty. And he's like, "I did not sign up for this. What the is going on?" And so he asked his cousin that night, and he's like, "Don't make a big deal out of it."
So after seeing this, he explains how he was completely in shock. He didn't know what to make of it. And seeing that fish, the huge fish that looked like a mermaid, was one of the worst or most bizarre feelings that he had ever had. But then, things get even weirder.
Well, something really sinister is afoot, and he doesn't even realize it. They ended up going to port, and they went to a different warehouse, and they took this siren to a different warehouse, and it was set up like a restaurant. Come to find out, these clientele, he had sonar machines and everything to track these things down. And they were all there, the crew was there and everything else. And these people, okay, that had him go and catch this thing. And they say it's like really common among the wealthy. And they put it on a gurney, they pushed it out, and they all had their knives and forks and everything else. It was set up like hibachi, sort of.
So I don't know if I believe in any of this, but this is where things get really sinister. She continues on and states that they went back and caught another mermaid, and she describes how it looks.
So they ended up not seeing any on the next 4 or 5 trips out. And he was like, "Thank God that's over." Well, they ended up running into another one, but this one was a fighter. And it didn't look the same. Okay, like this one had a blackish toned skin with like white colored hair.
And not only that, this is all just kind of sad, isn't it? Like, if this really is happening to these creatures, like, it's sad that these people are hunting and eating them. Like, I find that really quite sad, actually. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you think it's sad, or do you think it's okay? And this is like a non-judgment free zone, but I just think that this kind of thing shouldn't be happening if it actually is happening, because they're living creatures also, and like, I feel like every creature deserves to live its own life,
Whitish green colored hair. He was like, it was super duper weird.
And looking at the comments, I found a bunch of people stating that they have heard stories of mermaids before, one that actually saw the same creature as she describes. So this whole story could be entirely made up. But there's still a bunch of videos out there of people who supposedly caught mermaids on camera. We're going to be taking a look into that.
Ó, gente, eu tava assistindo o Casé TV, né? Eles estão reproduzindo. Fico olhando nesse canto aqui da imagem, ó. Gente, o que é isso?
Can't tell me this isn't mermaid's tail. This is crazy. I heard it. I hear it.
There's also this comment from Jacqueline Mara. "I just saw the mermaid thing, and it made me remember Lady Gaga played a mermaid in one of her videos. Maybe this is a reference." And there's this part. Now, it's really weird how in this clip I actually feel like they're referencing one of these parties, but the question is, why would they be eating mermaids? Is there anything to it? Eternal life, or at least a very long lifespan.
So, in Japanese folklore, mermaids known as ningyo are believed to have monkey mouths with small fish-like teeth and golden, shiny scales, and eating their flesh is thought to grant eternal life or at least a very long lifespan. So, yeah, they're believed to have monkey mouths with small monkey mouths. That's pretty weird. Like, I wouldn't have expected that. Based off all the myths and, like, you know, you see all the cartoons of mermaids and stuff like that, and you don't really think of a mermaid as something ugly, do you? Let me know what you think, because in that Disney movie, The Little Mermaid, the most classic one, and I'm sure there are others too, they're all portrayed as beautiful, but from everything I've heard about sirens and actual, like, I don't know if there are actual mermaids, maybe there are, but these are kind of like sirens, I guess, and sirens are not supposed to be beautiful, so pretty interesting stuff.
So Hollywood, celebrities, yeah, okay. Still far-fetched, exaggerated, but I see where this is coming from and I see where this could be going. Let's see if there's anything else to it. And the Little Mermaid tried and called humans fish eaters. Maybe he knew something was going on with these people too. There are mermaid tales in the kitchen when the chef is searching for Sebastian. Right at this part, right here. What are those? It looks exactly like what she described as mermaid tails. The color and the texture and everything else.
It was just like the body of a fish. And he said that it was like bright, greenish white, silvery scales.
Bright greenish white, silvery scales. That doesn't look like that. That looks like a dark green, so I don't really get the reference, but that's just my opinion, allegedly.
Let's see if we can find anything else. So the one that stands out here is this guy, Mario Moreno or Cantinflas.
The dark case of Cantinflas and his mansion in Acapulco, where there were mermaids. Mario Moreno, better known as Cantinflas, has a very strange obsession, mermaids. Such was his obsession that he built a mansion dedicated to them.
So who was Mario Moreno? So he was a comedian, an actor, a Mexican actor. So apparently this is the mansion that he built dedicated to mermaids. This entire part of the mansion was meant for the mermaids to come over. He was completely obsessed with it, and this guy states that there were actual parties with mermaids.
It all begins when in a bar in Mexico City, she meets an enigmatic man who said his name was Carlos Lorenzo Hernandez. This man not only listened to Mario's fantasy, but proposed a very crazy plan. Carlos gave Cantinflas a special quartz that had the power to summon the mermaids, and after this, he made the suggestion to build a mansion by the sea, this in Acapulco. But not just any house, it had to include a statue of himself, of Cantinflas, looking towards the sea, and the whole house should be decorated with marine figures. Supposedly, this whole ritual would attract mermaids. Sometime later, in the early morning, it is said that Cantinflas saw these creatures from his statue, and since then, secret parties were held there with the mermaids.
Secret parties with mermaids. You thought you heard it all, right? What else?
After his death, and due to legal problems.
Yeah, and that's just it. You think you've heard it all. And so, secret parties with mermaids. Have you ever heard of such a wild thing? Like, that is just crazy. But I am going to stop the video here only because I don't want it to get too long. And if you want to see part 2 of my reaction of this video, I will be posting it in 1 or 2 days from now. So, yeah, I hope that you enjoyed my commentary, and I will continue on with the commentary because there is some other really interesting stuff covered in the rest of the video that I wanted to talk about, but I just don't like making these videos too long because, just for a couple of different reasons, I prefer to keep them at a certain time frame. And with my commentary, it does add to it, but yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this new take on the channel and for the channel, and be sure to check the description to get your top 5 horror movie recommendations, and I hope you enjoyed the music and this commentary, and I will see you in part 2.